Hello everyone, welcome to StudyIQ IS English channel. My name is Shubham Sagar. Today we have to talk about Partition of Bengal. This is lecture 42. Do revise the previous lectures. And again, you can also watch these lectures as standalone lectures. But yes, previous lectures would help you a lot. So today we have to talk about Partition of Bengal. If you talk about what we have done yesterday, we have talked about moderate phase. We have ended our lecture at moderate phase. We're talking about the period from 1885 to 1905. We have also talked about the formation of INC, and all these things we have discussed. Now the next phase is rise of extremists, because after this 1905, you will see the emergence of extremist phase. And here, extremist word has different meanings. Extremist word is also used for Lal Bal Pal, and other people, Aurobindo Ghosh, Lala Lajpat Roy, Bipin Chandra Pal, or when we are talking about Bal Gangadhar Tilak. But it has different connotation there also, like rise of revolutionary extremism. So we'll be talking about that rise of revolutionary extremism later on. Good evening, Nikhil. Good evening, Bulbul. So that we will be doing later on. Today we have to focus on rise of extremist, Lal Bal Pal, Aurobindo Ghosh, and then we'll talk about Partition of Bengal. If you go back and look at the PYQs, history, modern history PYQs, you will realize UPSC asked a lot of questions from Partition of Bengal. There was a time when they used to ask a lot of questions from Lahore session. Lagdi Lahore Diya. There is a song of Guru Randhawa. So that means you look like a girl who belongs to Lahore. Oh my God, I'm translating a Punjabi song into English for you. So, hi Vastaram, let's start the discussion now. What would lead to, like, yesterday we have ended at moderate phase, 1885 to 1905. We have talked about their achievements. There were limitations which will lead to rise of extremists. What factors will lead to rise of extremists? Lal Bal Pal, Aurobindo Ghosh, why would they become popular? Again, the limitations of moderates. They were confined to 3P, prayer, petition, protest. All these things we have discussed earlier. Then there are other factors also. In 1890s, famines will happen, so many of us will die, we are knowing about their economic exploitation, all these things are playing a part. At the same time, Ethiopia, which is a small country in Africa, they will be defeating countries like Italy, Russia will be defeated by Japan. So there are multiple factors which will give us a boost that yes sir, we can defeat Britishers, and that cannot be done by just this 3P. Prayer, petition and protest. We have to resort to 3S. What is this 3S? We'll talk about it in a few moments from now. All these things will happen. All these things we will discuss. But before we do that, let's also do some revision of what we have studied earlier. Very good. So solve this particular question based on what we have studied earlier, asked in 2018. Good evening, Kritika. So after the Santhal uprising subsided, what were the measures taken by the colonial government? 2018. First, the territories called Santhal Parganas were created. Second, it became illegal for a Santhal to transfer land to a non-Santhal. Select the correct answer using the code given below. A1 only, B2 only, C both 1 and 2, D neither 1 nor 2. So what is the answer of this particular question? Keep on revising the stuff which you have done earlier so that materials don't pile up on you. Santhal uprising, Santhal Hool, very important because NCERT talks about it a lot. So the territories, Bulbul, Vastaram, they have Kritika, they have given the answer. And the answer is, as you people have stated, both these options are correct. Territories called Santhal Parganas were created and it became illegal for Santhal to transfer land to a non-Santhal. All these things happened via Santhal Pargana Tenancy Act. We have talked about this. So the answer is C, as you people stated. Let's come to extremist people. Here we are talking about extremist faction within Congress. Lal Bal Pal, Lala Lajpat Roy, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal. Extremists are not confined only to these leaders. You have Aurobindo Ghosh, you have so many other people, Vishnu Shastri Chiplunkar and others also. We'll talk about them later on. So rise of extremists, why it is happening? By 1905, you will see, please understand this. 1885 Congress established. Then there are some important Congress session. I have made a separate video on 15 most important Congress session. If you search it, you will find it on YouTube. You can have a look at it. We can have a discussion on it later on also. Please understand one thing. Three Congress sessions which are very important from your exam perspective, from your UPSC pre-perspective, because this is prelims crash course, are Congress session from 1905 to 1907. 1905, who was the president? Gopal Krishna Gokhale. 1906, Dadabhai Naoroji, and 1907, Ras Bihari Ghosh. These 3 years, so many things will happen. You will see slowly and gradually extremists calling the shots, and we have to understand all these things in a much better manner. So again, things are written here. This partition of Bengal, which will be done by Lord Curzon, who was the viceroy from 1899 to 1905. We have talked about him a little bit when we were talking about governor, governor general, and viceroys. You can go back to that lecture also later on and revise those stuff. So partition of Bengal played a crucial role in the rise of extremists, which happened in 1905. Please understand one thing. UPSC has asked a lot of questions on partition of Bengal. What was the date of announcement of partition of Bengal? That happened in July 1905. When Congress people decided that they want to resort to Swadeshi and boycott movement, that happened in August 1905. When was partition actually, when did partition actually happen? That happened in October 1905. So all these months are important. UPSC has already asked questions on these months. Please don't forget them, and that will help you. You have to understand the chronology here, as our Honorable Minister Sir Amit Shah says. You have to understand the chronology of partition of Bengal. So reason for rise of extremists here, the Bol Bachchan, the Jibber Jabber is there. We have talked about some of them. You will see certain things which will help you in pre as well as mains. We'll talk about what is very important from pre perspective. Very, very good. So again, recognition of the true nature of British rule, that they are there to exploit us. Famines happened in 1890s and many people died, plague happened, and they are busy in doing their own stuff. Then Lord Curzon came, and please remember this as we keep on talking about Lord Lytton, Ripon. Similarly, you're hearing a lot about Lord Curzon. That means he's an important viceroy. So 1899 to 1905 is his tenure. Many people associate him with partition of Bengal. That is actually correct, but he is much more than that. He is not only confined to partition of Bengal. He passed something known as Official Secrets Act. You still see this particular act even right now also. Let's say you become a civil servant and somebody files an RTI on you, right to information, and they want to know some information related to you. You can always use this, or sometimes, I am not saying you always use this or civil servants always use this. What I mean by that is, sometimes civil servants use Official Secrets Act to insulate themselves from RTI, right to information. So Official Secrets Act still there. Again, you can see it promotes opaqueness. Then Indian Universities Act put a curb on freedom of speech and expression. So all these things happened which gave rise to extremists. That nobody can take away our right of freedom of speech and expression. We will speak. Oh my God, these things sound so okay. So growth of confidence and self-respect, again, this thing is very common. These points you can even write in the face, like when we are talking about the rise of moderates also. So many people, these moderate leaders only, Dadabhai Naoroji, etc., talking about economic exploitation, telling us about our glorious past, etc., etc. That is what is written here. And then there will be a guy who will be known as grandfather of India. These things are important from pre-perspective. Like, you know, who is grand old man of India? Who is known as grand old man of India? Chepandis, Cheppu Telsu Ledu Kadu. That means, do tell me, who is the grand old man of India? Grand old man of India. That is Dadabhai Naoroji. So that is fine. Grand old man of India, most of the people know that is Dadabhai Naoroji. Then the next question is, who is the grandfather of India? As Vastram is saying, Dadabhai Naoroji. So grandfather of India, most of the people don't know. Again, there are certain quotes which we have to remember when we are talking about this particular phase. Who gave the slogan India for the Indians? So India for the Indians, who gave that slogan, that same guy is sometimes known as grandfather of India. And that guy is, again, Adi Bhumi is also saying Dadabhai Naoroji. So grandfather of India is sometimes referred to Dayanand Saraswati. He also gave the quote India for the Indians. These things are important from UPSC pre-perspective. Fine. So again here, growth of confidence and self-respect. You can read this. I'm not reading it. And we have talked about bigger powers being defeated by smaller powers. Russia defeated by Japan. Ethiopia, which was also known as Abyssinia. We have talked about Abyssinian slave Yakut, who was close to Razia Sultan. So Abyssinia and Ethiopia are same. All these things gave us the boost that we can also defeat Britishers. And that cannot be done by 3P, prayer, petition and protest. We have to do something else, and they will do something else. Growth of education. More and more people are coming into the bracket of the middle class intelligentsia, and they are knowing about the exploitative policies of the Britishers. Reaction to increasing westernization. Again, these bol bachchans, these jibber jabber will help you in mains. But again, before you for reaching mains, you have to clear pre, and for clearing pre, you have to know certain data, certain points, like who said India for the Indians, who said Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. So Swami Dayanand. Who is the grandfather of India, sometimes referred as grandfather of India, Swami Dayanand Saraswati. So these are the facts which you have to keep in mind. Very, very good. Okay. Then rise of the extremists, dissatisfaction with the achievements of moderates. We have talked about in the previous lecture achievements of moderates, Indian Council Act 1892, then simultaneous election means exam happening in London and India of civil services. All these things, they are very, you can well be commission happened 1895 related to expenditure. So we have talked about some of the achievements of moderates, but people were not satisfied with it, especially the class which will later on emerge as extremists. They are like, dude, you people are just wasting time, as this guy who is some Grover, I think he's Ashneer Grover. Ashneer? Ashleel? Ashneer. No, Ashleel means something else. We will not go there again. So that is what is written here. You can have a look at it. Now again, here things are important. Quotes are important. If you go back and see the PYQs related to history and UPSC, whatever PYQs they have asked. So they have asked these kind of questions. Who said Swaraj is my birthright? Who said Congress is a microscopic minority? Who said Congress is a Congress of flatterers and these sessions are holiday recreation? Tilak. And who is one of the major pole of one of the most important extremist leader? Fine. So again, here these things we have to write. Some people say, like some scholars say, that Tilak may be directly or indirectly promoted armed struggle. When you read about what he did in 1890s and Chapekar brothers and all those stuff, we'll not go there right now. We'll talk about it later on when we are talking about rise of revolutionary extremism. But in exam, you don't have to go into the controversial area. You have to say that his method, he is an extremist, but it doesn't mean that he believes in armed struggle. It's just that he did not believe in the 3P methods of moderates, prayer, petition and protest, also known as radicalist, right? And we'll talk about those radicalists or radical extremists. Swaraj is my birthright, I shall have it. Who said this? Bal Gangadhar Tilak sir. Okay. Reactionary policies of Lord Curzon 1899 to 1905. Here it's not only confined to Partition of Bengal, that is a major cause for emergence of extremists, but apart from that, Indian Universities Act, which put a restriction of freedom of speech and expression, that also led to the rise of extremists, apart from other things. He did some good things also, like Kitchener Commission was established, Police Commission was established, but the period when he came, before that, so many plagues and so many famines have happened that people did not have a favorable opinion of him, or maybe he did not find a favorable ground to do stuff, and that's why he became so hostile. Whatever may have been the reason, he was not very good to us, although he did do some good things. He is important from both pre as well as mains perspective. Okay, so Official Secrets Act, which is still used to this day to insulate civil servants from RTI, with due respect to all the civil servants. Some of you, or if you work hard enough, most of you will be civil servant one day. Don't try to use it for not so good purposes. Again, let's not go there. Indian Universities Act, and above all, the Partition of Bengal. So all these things are not so good things done by Lord Curzon. What were the good things done by him? We'll talk about it. Pusa, Agricultural Commission, like, university that was established by him. Kitchener Commission. At that time, army was not that disciplined. People in India anyway, their pouch comes out. Pouch means the stomach. Sometimes what will happen when you will go into any people's home. So first of all, your stomach will enter stomach, and then you will enter, because the stomach is always 2, 3. You can understand what I'm trying to say here. So discipline, fitness, all these things was important in army. For that, Kitchener Commission was appointed by him. And he started a test, just like very similar to the yo-yo test, which Indian cricketers do these days. Not exactly similar, just to make you understand that yes, fitness is important. Okay. So, rise of extremists, these guys, they emerged. See, Aurobindo Ghosh, Bipin Chandra Pal, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Roy, we all know. Just remember the region, and then there is another guy, Vishnu Shastri Chiplunkar. So, he is the guy who wrote a lot of journals in Maharashtra region, and he died of plague or something in 1880s, but he was very, very popular because he talked about the exploitative policies of Britishers. So, Vishnu Shastri Chiplunkar. Do remember their region where they are active. And then there are certain like the UPSC has already asked a question, which of the following extremist leaders, tummy issues, exactly, which of the following extremist leaders wrote in new lamps for the old? So these things are important from exam perspective, because we are focusing on the pre-part, new lamps for the old. Who wrote, or which of the following extremists wrote in new lamps for the old, where he talked about moderate leaders in not so favorable terms. So these things are important. Keep it in mind. If you know it, you can post it in the comment section. What were the basic tenets of these extremists? Again, you can read these things. Swaraj has to be the goal, and that Swaraj was enunciated or said by Dadabhai Naoroji in the 1906 Congress session. That Swaraj will be our goal. Up until then, like you can say from 1905 to 1907, things changed for the Congress. They became more radical, as was stated by Kritika. Before that, they were not thinking about Swaraj. They were like, Britishers are good people. They don't know about our actual reality, actual condition. We have to make them know our actual condition. So that was the thing, but things will change once this partition of Bengal happened. Do remember the chronology which we have discussed. Partition announced in July 1904. Swadeshi and boycott movement launched in July 1905. Swadeshi and boycott launched in August 1905. Partition actually happened in October 1905. These 3 months are important for you. UPSC has already asked questions on all these 3 months. Okay. Now let's again, so here these are the basic traits. Direct political action required. It should not be only confined to 3 P's, blah blah blah. Personal sacrifices are required. You can read this, more important from mains perspective to give you a clarity, but you people already know all, like most of these stuffs. So let's move on. Let's move on to the more important areas. Before we do that, let's solve some question. So this is one particular PYQ based on what we have already read. What is the answer of this question? Cheppandi is Cheppu, Telsu, Ledu, Kadu. That means tell me. Dark has given the answer. So dark. Birsa Munda revolt, that is known as Ulgulan or the Great Tumult. Don't forget these facts. Sir, please suggest me to choose language. Language for what? Anju and Dark. They have given the answer. Ramesh has given the answer. Kritika has given the answer. So Nisha, where do you want to choose language? In the language paper, where? Like, and my English is average. Should I take English or Hindi? In what? Like, in the mains paper you are talking about, you can take like Hindi, you can take English, or you can take one local language or English. You can take anything. It depends. You can take Hindi also, Nisha. That's totally up to you. Okay. So mode of action, how they are doing things. As we have talked about, these moderate people, they were focusing on 3 P's, prayer, petition, protest. These extremist people, they will focus on 3 S, as you can see here. Self-reliance, self-sacrificed, strong will. Again, these things will help you in mains. What you have to remember is they can give you this. That extremist people, they relied on self-reliance, self-sacrifice, strong will, all these things. Or they can give you this like extremist people, they believed in prayer, petition and protest. So that is false. That's what you have to remember. Fine. And then what else, sir? Now here, there will be certain things which we'll be talking about when we are talking about Swadeshi and boycott movement. That Bengal College was established with Sri Aurobindo Ghosh as the principal. So when we are talking about this National Bengal College, when was it established? 1906. Was Aurobindo Ghosh the principal of this college? Yes. So these are some facts which you have to remember. Corps of volunteers, which are known as Samiti. Swadesh Bandhav Samiti is associated with Swadeshi and boycott movement. You will say yes, because these corps of volunteers or samitis you will see in civil disobedience movement also. So there will be certain things which you have to remember. P.C. Ray, he is a guy who will be establishing a chemical factory, related to science and tech. So again, associated with Swadeshi and boycott movement. So there will be some names which you have to remember. So is it Mapilla? Again, all these are same, but no different. Mapilla, Mopilla, all are same only, Vastram. Cool. So again, we'll talk about all these things. Age of consent bill. This we have talked about when we were talking about socio-religious reform movement. That age of consent bill, what this means, child marriage restraint act, what is the meaning here, when you can have, means sexual intercourse legally with a girl. All these things we have discussed earlier. What was the minimum age and when it was increased, and POXO Act we have currently. So here this is one of the, like when we talk about personalities, you talk about Bal Gangadhar Tilak, we'll talk about his journals. So these are good things related to Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Swaraj is my birthright, I shall have it, good things. But as we are preparing for UPSC, everything has two dimensions, So this is the second dimension of Bal Gangadhar Tilak. He opposed the age of consent bill, and that was introduced because somebody died because of sexual injury, some child bride. And he said that Britishers have no right to interfere in our religious affairs. This will remind you somewhat of Radha Kandev, about whom we have talked earlier in social religious reform movements. We have talked about him in 12 most important organization before INC also, who was like, he promoted girls' education, but he also supported sati, that sati should happen because Britishers should not interfere in our religious affairs. So some people believe this was not the correct stance taken by Bal Gangadhar Tilak sir. So in like UPSC, they can give you this statement that Tilak opposed the introduction of age of consent bill. You may feel like Tilak sir is so good, he has done so many good things, but again, this is one not so good thing. According to scholars, I have no opinion on this, whether this is good or not, whether he did the right thing by opposing the age of consent or not, but you have to keep it in mind. Fine. And these are the journals, like we have talked about New India, when we are talking about safety wall theory, who published New India. Do tell me, New India book and journal associated with whom? What we have discussed yesterday. New India. Rival of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Very good, Kritika. So, New India book that is associated with Lala Lajpat Roy. New India, it was Young India. Which India we were talking about yesterday? So there are so many Indias, and any percent is also involved in these Indias. So again, this is your work. Find out New India, Young India, which book we have talked about in the previous lecture when we were talking about Lala Lajpat Roy, who was a supporter of safety wall theory. So any percent associated with New India, who is associated with Young India book, Young India journal. Gandhiji is associated with New India or Young India. Lala Lajpat Roy is associated with New India or Young India. Again, these are the things which you have to keep in mind. Fine, let's come back. Maharatta and Kesari. Maharatta is now here what we have to remember. Like Surendranath Banerjee, Bengali journal. Then we have talked about Shishir Kumar Ghosh, Amrita Bazar Patrika. Maharatta and Kesari associated with Tilak. Let's say you have studied about these leaders earlier. So generally you may have heard about Maharatta and Kesari. But what is important from exam perspective, UPSC pre-perspective, the language in which these journals published or were published, that is important from exam perspective, which you have to keep in mind. So we have talked about one of the limitations of Tilak sir, which is important from both pre as well as mains perspective. What else? Use of Shivaji and Ganpati festival. Many people say that this is good. This is good for mobilization of Hindu people. But what about those people who do not belong to, who are not Hindus? So some people believe that it also created communalization to a certain extent. When you are using your festival for mass mobilization, it may create communalization to a certain extent, which you have to keep in mind. Young India, very good, Kritika. So these things you have to keep in mind. Then PYQ has been asked on this. This is a PYQ. Lal Bal Pal, Aurobindo Ghosh. These are four most prominent extremists. So Aurobindo Ghosh, whose life is, again, is a life of two contrasting halves. Not exactly like Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. We have talked about Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. His life is also of two contrasting halves, comprises of two contrasting halves. So Aurobindo Ghosh sir, he was an extremist, and then later on he retired from active politics. He went to Auroville and started a spiritual life. And many people say that, we will talk about him later on, the amount of solitary confinement. He was put in solitary confinement, and sometimes if you see and if you Google solitary confinement, you will realize people do get mad when you are put in those solitary confinement. You have nobody to talk to and all those stuff. We humans, we are social animals. We need somebody to interact to. You may feel like, sir, as UPSC aspirant, we don't even talk to anybody. That's fine, but still you have an option you can talk to. Think about a scenario where your cell is totally, there is no light, nothing, it's very small, it's closed from all sides. People do get mad, and some people say that these solitary confinement influenced Aurobindo Ghosh sir a lot, and he resorted to spirituality. New India. Okay, so Young India Mahatma Gandhi, Young India Lala Lajpat Roy, New India Any Besant, as you people have stated. So these things you have to keep it in mind, and please remember, New Lamps for Old, he published a series of articles known as New Lamps for the Old, where he criticized moderate people, and this thing he published in the journal which is known as Indu Prakash. Please keep it in mind, this is important from UPSC perspective. UPSC has already asked a PYQ on this, so this is important. Okay, so Congress again. Again here they have written who are the people who are leading. You can read this. We have already talked about it. So work of extremists, what they are doing, how they are different. They are following 3S rather than 3P, and then we'll talk about all the things. They are much more like direct in their approach. They don't believe in the petition and all those stuff. They believe that Swadeshi and boycott movement, it has to be extended beyond Bengal, and then something will happen. They believe in the boycott of legislative councils. Moderates are like, no, we will not do this because Britishers has promised us that they will bring reform in legislative council, and that will play a crucial role in the Surat split, or the split of Congress which will happen in the Surat session in 1907, which was presided by Raj Bihari Ghosh, not Bose. Raj Bihari Ghosh and Raj Bihari Bose, they are two different personality. Raj Bihari Ghosh, 1907 Congress President. Raj Bihari Bose, he is associated with the formation of Indian National Army. Now let's solve this question. In the meantime, when I was doing this Bol Bachchan, I was giving a monologue like Kartik Aryan of I don't know which movie. You people have solved this question. Oh my god, so good. Okay. You can attend any class, no issues at all. Okay, where were we? So who of the following were economic critics of colonialism in India? Dadabhai Naroji, G. Subramania Iyer, R.C. Dutt, all three people. Dadabhai Naroji, Poverty and Unbritish Rule in India, G. Subramania Iyer, Hindu, Swadesh Mitran, these journals you associate him with. R.C. Dutt, Economic History of India. So these are the points which you have to keep in mind. All these three people are economic critiques of colonialism in India. Some important moderates. So again, G. Subramania Iyer, we are just talking about him, Hindu, and Swadesh Mitran. So Hindu, we have talked about it. Do remember Swadesh Mitran also is a journal with whom you associate G. Subramania Iyer. Dadabhai Naroji, Grand Old Man of India, and we have talked a lot about him. Cool. So I think SSR, Vastaram, Kritika, Charita, GB, Goari, you people all answer the answer, give the answer. Cool. Have a look at it. We have talked about it. Dadabhai Naroji, Poverty and Un-British Rule in India, and he became the Congress president how many times? What we have discussed earlier. Dadabhai Naroji became Congress president how many times? Once, twice, thrice. As Anju stated, cool. No, it's fine here. So, as Anju stated, 3 times, 1886, 1893, 1906. These 3 sessions he presided. Now, again, Dayanand Saraswati, he sometimes, see, understand one thing, like Grand Old Man of India, there is no like issue there. Everybody know that Grand Old Man of India is Dadabhai Naroji. But as far as Grandfather of India is concerned, it's not unanimous. It's not a term which always we associate with Dayanand Saraswati. Sometimes it is used with Dayanand Saraswati. It's not like whenever we say Grandfather of India, always we are referring to Dayanand Saraswati. It's not strictly confined to one person, but yes, more often than not, we are talking about Dayanand Saraswati. We have talked about this, India for the Indians. Bankim Chand Chatterjee, Vande Mataram, and which is there in the novel Anand Mat also, and it was sung by even Rabindranath Tagore also. It was included in Congress session in 1930s also. So Vande Mataram is important national song. Again, you can read these things. Anand Mat, we have already discussed a lot. It became, again, they have given this Sannyasi rebellion. I wanted to ask you that. It is based on the backdrop of which particular rebellion. Now let's talk about Partition of Bengal, Swadeshi movement and Surat split. So Bengal at that time was very big. Dayanand Saraswati, Vedic knowledge. Very good, yeah. So Bengal at that time was very big. It included Bihar, it included Odisha, it included at a certain point of time even certain portion of Assam. Then Assam was separated from it, a certain portion of Assam, and it was made a Chief Commissioner province. So what is CCP, Chief Commissioner Province? Just like in current setup, current context, you have something known as Union Territory. Young father, one and only Swami Vivekanand. Okay. Cool. So again, just like in current setup, you have union territories. At that time, they used to have chief commissioner province. So a certain portion of Assam was like drifted or cut apart from Bengal region, and it was made a union territory. Fine. So in all, what we are trying to say is Bengal was very big. So what Curzon decided in July 1905 that we have to separate Bengal. He separated Bengal in such a way that the East Bengal region became Muslim majority, and West Bengal and the Bihar and the Odisha province, which was included there, it became Hindu majority. And people felt like this division did not happen on the basis of administrative convenience. It was done to divide us on the basis of religion. And then the protest started. July 1905, partition announced. August 1905, Swadeshi and boycott call was launched. October 1905, partition actually happened. So all these things, all these dates we have discussed multiple times. That means they are important. So Curzonian attack, again, Lord Curzon, we are talking about 1899 to 1905. At the time when he came to India, all these things have already happened. Famine and plague. The situation was not very, like, people were not very receptive of him when he came here, and maybe that played a role in the policies which he implemented. And we generally talk about the negative policies like the Partition of Bengal, Indian Universities Act or Official Secrets Act, but he did some good things as well. What were those good things? Police reforms under Sir Andrew Fraser. Do remember the names. They can ask you that Andrew Fraser was related to which particular commission, or Lord Kitchener was related to which particular commission. So these names are important because you have to, again, police reform is a thing which we still talk about today as well. Even if I ask you today, many people, they don't have trust in the police, the police setup. With due respect to the police people, like some people feel like they are corrupt. If you have to go to police station, you think twice or thrice. So issues are still there. When you talk about police reform, when you talk about prison reforms, all these things we still talk about today as well. At that time also issues were there. Andrew Fraser was appointed as the commissioner to look into the issues. Similarly, the Army Navy, they had some issues. They were not that disciplined. So Lord Kitchener will come. Education reforms, Indian Universities Act of 1905. The pretext here given was we want to improve the quality of education. Again, that is an issue today as well, but many people felt like it was a attack on the freedom of speech and expression. So Indian Universities Act 1904. PUSA, the agriculture university, was created during this time. So there are some good things also related to Curzon that will help you in eliminating options in pre and in writing good answers in mains. Police reforms, and then army reform, we'll talk about this. We are talking about Lord Kitchener. Discipline was lacking, fitness was lacking, and he came and he introduced some test which was known as Kitchener test, which you can compare with yo-yo test. Virat Kohli came into Indian team and the fitness improved. Earlier we had people who had big tummies. In fact, still in current Indian team also we have some people who have big tummies. Again, let's not go there. Curzon's second evil, reserve and transfer. Okay, so let's come back. So Kitchener, Lord Kitchener, do remember he is associated with which reform? Then you have Colonel Young Husband who went to Tibet. Remember one thing, when we talk about moderate demands, moderate phase and their demand, one of their demand was that, dude, don't invest our money in fighting the Afghani people or fighting the Burmese people, or in this scenario fighting the Tibetan people. We were like, you were wasting our money. But again, that's how you can remember that stuff. We have talked about it. So he sent a special mission to Tibet under Young Husband. So these are some not so bad points associated with Lord Curzon, especially the army reforms and the police reform thing. Please remember, and the PUSA thing, the agriculture university, which was set up during his tenure, Ancient Monument Act. So these are some good things, but this is not. This is one of the bigger issues. So the bad things, if you summarize it, Partition of Bengal, and I'm reiterating it, Partition of Bengal, Indian Universities Act. So these two are bad things, very bad things. Official Secrets Act, we don't know because we still have aspects of Official Secrets Act currently as well. But again, that promotes opaqueness. So you may say that not that good. But again, then you also say that no sir, official, like civil servants, we cannot divulge all our information. We need to have some privacy. Again, privacy versus transparency. I will not go there. I've already made a video on it. So Partition of Bengal, here again they are talking about Bengal, how big it was, how much population it had. See, we are not talking about current day Bengal. This is a Bengal almost 120 years back, and the population was 78 million. But again, that Bengal was much bigger than the current Bengal. Even now, if you go to Bengal, they have such humid climate and so many people. Like my family lives in Kolkata. I have told you I think 1,000 times. So yes sir, population is still very large, but it is said about Bengal, it is said about Kolkata, I have told you, I think, it doesn't matter how much money you earn, 10,000, 15,000, whatever money you earn, you will be able to live peacefully in Kolkata, you will get proper food, everything. So that is one very good thing about Kolkata and Bengal. Kitchener cooking, cool. Let's come back. Again, let's not name and shame anyone, Kritika, in the comment section. So yes sir, this is what we were discussing. Some people have issues related to what is Chief Commissioner Province. So this is akin to the Union Territory which we have currently. Cool. So Partition of Bengal, they are saying that they are doing it for administrative convenience because Bengal is very big, and then they will divide it into two parts. Which two parts we will just see. And see here. So this is two parts we are talking about. This particular portion, this is Hindu majority because the Muslim percentage in this area is only 16. And if you're talking about Eastern Bengal and Assam region, here the Muslim percentage is 58. And that's why people say that, bro, you have divided Bengal not for administrative convenience, but to divide us on the line of religion. We will not let any force divide us on the line of religion. Doesn't matter whether it happened in 1905 or 2025, any force which will try to divide us on the basis of religion, we will resist those forces till the time we are alive. Oh my God. So again, so you can understand why partition happened. So anti-partition campaign started, and that revolved around Swadeshi and boycott. What is the meaning of these terms, Swadeshi and boycott? Swadeshi means we will buy our own things, like things which are produced in our country, you know, and we will establish our own college, we'll establish our own chemical factories, all these things we will do. And boycott is we will boycott the foreign goods, the British goods, we will hurt them economically. So these two are the common tenets. And here you have to remember some names. Surendranath Banerjee, everybody knows. We have talked about him a lot now, and he is very famous. Bengali Indian Association, he was, you know, elected, and he was selected as civil servant, but Britishers did not allow him to function properly or work properly as a servant, so civil servant, so he resigned. So now PC Ray is associated with chemical factory. He established you know, chemical factory, and very famous guy related to science and tech. Now KK Mitra, PC Ray, you will hear about him now. KK Mitra, I don't think you have heard about him at all. So he published a journal named as Sanjeevani. So sometimes they will give you these journals, Bengali, Sanjeevani, you know, and other journals which we have talked about, Amrita Bazar Patrika. So you have to remember this name from that context, that Sanjeevani associated with KK Mitra, and KK Mitra played a crucial role during the Swadeshi and boycott movement of Bengal. So that's it, you don't need to do any more PhD, okay, because anyway there are so many people involved here. And PC Ray, he is a chemist. That also you have to keep in mind that yes sir, he's a chemist and he's an awesome guy with awesome beard. Let's move on. Now, please pay attention to these things, sir. I'm telling you again and again, you have to remember the whole chronology related to Partition of Bengal. When the partition announced, when Swadeshi and boycott thing like started, and when partition actually happened. All these things very important. Announced July 1905, and now anti-partition campaign will start 1 month after August 1905. Partition will actually happen in October 1905. You can forget the dates, that's fine. I don't think UPSC will play such a trick that they will give you partition actually happened on October 14, October 15, 16, 17. So then that would be a tough question for everyone. But just remember the months for now. July announced, August partition campaign started, anti-partition campaign started, and October finally the partition happened. And they started singing Vande Mataram. Amar Sonar Bangla was written during this period. So Rabindranath Tagore sir, he is involved with, you know, national anthem of not one country, not two countries, but 3 countries. What are those 3 countries? Rashtra Guru, very good SSR. What 3 countries we are talking about? So Amar Sonar Bangla later became the national anthem of Bangladesh. So we can understand Rabindranath Tagore associated with national anthem of 2 countries, India and Bangladesh. Which 3rd country we are talking about? Whose national anthem is also associated with Rabindranath Tagore, such a versatile personality. And that's why All India Muslim League 1906, yes, cool, 1 year after this. In a way you can see that these things are bearing result, the division thing are bearing result, as Charita is saying. Amar Sonar Bangla is still now people use. So the 3rd country with whom we associate Rabindranath Tagore and national anthem, like he wrote some people believe that he actually wrote the national anthem of that country, is Sri Lanka. So if you see the national anthem of Sri Lanka, many people believe that the credit is given to somebody else, but that guy was helped a lot by Rabindranath Tagore in writing the national anthem. So Bangladesh is one country, India is another country. The third countries whose national anthem credit is sometimes given to Rabindranath Tagore is Sri Lanka. You can check Sri Lanka's national anthem and you can read the history associated with it, how Rabindranath Tagore sir is, associated with Sri Lanka's national anthem. That is actually a very interesting story, just for knowing, for the sake of knowing, not very important from exam perspective. So Bangladesh, India as well as Sri Lanka, but don't forget India and Bangladesh. That is full proof. Sri Lanka, people debate about it. How much that guy whose name is associated with Sri Lankan national anthem actually wrote that song, and how much Rabindranath Tagore contributed to it. Okay, let's come back. Anti-partition campaign, people are tying Raksha Bandhan. These kind of facts are given in prelims options, that during Swadeshi movement people tied Raksha Bandhan. So you will be like, no, why will guy tie Raksha Bandhan? This is so gay. No, this is not about being that. This Raksha Bandhan is tied to promote solidarity. It's not just brothers and sisters tie it. Anybody can tie it, and anybody used to tie it during that period. So this is, again, hope you are understanding what we are discussing here. Surendranath Banerjee, Anand Mohan Bose of Indian Association fame, they are still very active during this period. They will be active in 1910s also, especially Surendranath Banerjee. And he is, as somebody was saying, Rashtra Guru. So anti-partition campaign, we have to remember some name, P.C. Ray, we have talked about chemical factory. Then there is Sir. His name is V.O. Chittambaram Pillai. And now you will see stuff will start happening in Congress. Friction will start appearing inside the Congress party, Indian National Congress, that bro, this is like partition happened in Bengal. So we should be confining Swadeshi and boycott movement in Bengal. Other people are like, dude, no. We have to take advantage of the situation. Swadeshi means we have to make our own goods. So let's start our own shipping service. Let's start our own college. They will start their own Bengal college in 1906. Why we are confining it to only Bengal? These things are applicable to other areas also. We can start our own things in other areas also. We can boycott British goods in other areas also. Moderates are like, no, this is not done, dude. Like, this is not correct. We are taking undue advantage of the situation. Extremists are like, we should. And then things escalated when extremists said that we will boycott even the councils. We have talked about executive council, legislative council, provincial councils. When we have talked about acts, you can read those or watch those two lectures rather, which we have done earlier. Acts from 1773 to 1853, 1858 to 1935. So these councils, slowly and gradually reforms were happening. Extremists are like, we have to boycott these councils. Moderates are like, we will not boycott these councils. And that was the major bone of contention, which will lead to Surat split of 1907. During that period, 1 year before 1907, Muslim League was formed, and Britishers were like, dude, we will bring reforms in Legislative Council. That happened actually. In 1909, one Indian member was added to Executive Council, S.P. Sinha, which we have discussed. So moderates were pacified, or they were happy with the things which Britishers told them that they will be doing, and slowly and gradually extremists were left apart, or they got isolated, and this Surat split happened. Please understand, the major cause was this boycott of councils. Moderates did not agree with it because they felt like Britishers would do something. In reality, Britishers actually did something, but was that enough? The answer is no. So these things we have to keep it in mind. Moderates and extremist separation, boycott foreign goods, exactly SSR. So all these things, you can have a look at it. We have discussed all these things. Please remember 1905, 6, 7, these three Congress sessions are very important for you. Who was the president, where it actually happened, everything is important. 1905, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, political guru of Gandhiji. 1906, Dadabhai Naroji. 1907, Ras Bihari Ghosh, not Bose. Let me skip the ad which I am finding in front of me. Nawab Salimullah Khan, founder of Muslim League at Dhaka. Very good, Vastaram. So again, see, this is what we are talking about. They want to go beyond the boycott of foreign goods to become a full-fledged political mass struggle. And they want to expand the domain. They want to boycott legislative councils. Slowly and gradually, friction is appearing between moderates and extremists. And in 1907, there is a very interesting story related to it. 1907 session, as we have discussed, and we will keep on discussing it, that Congress session, generally, in whatever presidency it used to happen, the president did not actually belong from that presidency. So let's say it happens in Maharashtra region, the president cannot be from Maharashtra. So in 1907, since Tilak is from Maharashtra, so moderate leader wanted 1907 session to happen in Maharashtra so that Tilak cannot become the president. And all these things again escalated the whole divide between moderates and extremists. So what is Charita writing? Moderate Surendranath Banerjee, Firoz Shah Mehta, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Very good, Charita. So here, 1906 session, 1905, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, he talked about Swadeshi movement. 1906, we are talking about Swaraj or self-government. Slowly and gradually, we have started talking about it. And there are 4 resolutions. Again, a PYQ has already been asked on it. You can watch, you can like search on YouTube 15 most important INC sessions. You can watch that video. There I have asked this question based on this 4 resolution. How you can remember these 4 resolutions which were passed in 1906 presided by Dadabhai Naoroji, the 3rd session which Dadabhai Naoroji presided, the other 2 beings 1886 and 1893 session. The mnemonic here is SSBN. 4 resolutions. SSBN, they have asked in UPSC, like there was a PYQ, which of the following was not one of the 4 resolutions passed in 1906 session. So you have to remember this. Swaraj, Swadeshi, boycott and national education. SSBN. What is SSBN? When you read internal security, when you read science and tech, when you read indigenization of Indian, defense and everything, so you read about SIP, submersible ballistic nuclear missiles. So SSBN. So that's how you can remember these 4 resolutions. SIP, submersible ballistic marine and nuclear missiles, which are there in marines. So SSBN, hope you can understand what I'm saying here. So this is related to the nuclear missiles which are there in submarines, SIP, submersible ballistic nuclear. So that's how you can remember these 4 resolutions. Please remember it, sir and ma'am. Any PYQs which has been asked on something, and they have asked a lot of questions on Partition of Bengal based on dates and these resolutions based on 1905 to 1907 session, you cannot forget them. Okay, let's move on. My nose is filled with butter and ghee. Hope you can understand. Okay. So 1907 session, the moderate extremist dispute over the pace of the movement and techniques of struggle reached a deadlock, and in 1907 session, they, took out their sandals and started throwing at each other. That was the situation which, like the situation escalated to such a point. Oh my God. So Surat split happened, Ras Bihari Ghosh is the president, and there is a question mark here. Because people generally write Ras Bihari Bose, don't write Ras Bihari Bose. He is a different person. Ras Bihari Ghosh is a different person. So Ras Bihari Bose is associated with Indian National Army. How you can distinguish between these 2 personalities? Subhash Chandra Bose, Ras Bihari Bose, Indian National Army, and this is Ras Bihari Ghosh. He is another personality. Okay, sir. New forms of struggle, what is happening in Swadeshi movement? Boycott of foreign goods, promotion of our own goods. All these things are written here. You can have a look at it. Will help you in means a lot, and there are certain terms which we are talking about continuously which is important from pre-perspective, like Swadesh Bandhav Samiti, these corps of volunteers. Who are these? Like we talked about Anna Hazare movement, there were certain corps of volunteers associated with Anna Hazare movement like Arvind Kejriwal, Prashant Bhushan and other people who were committed to a specific cause. Similarly, there was Swadesh Bandhav Samiti who was committed to promoting Swadeshi in the Bengal region, led by Ashwini Kumar Datta, like the anti-corruption campaign which was led by Anna Hazare sir. Do we have no corruption now? Why is Anna Hazare sir not active anymore? Again, let's not go there. These are some contentious topics. So, Swadesh Bandhav Samiti, these corps of, these samitis, corps of volunteers, you will see in civil disobedience movement also. So, this is one specific samiti associated with Swadeshi movement that you have to remember. Swadesh Bandhav Samiti, who was the leader, Ashwini Kumar Datta, that you have to remember. Where was it active? Barisal, that you have to remember. Important. Okay, complete Swaraj after 1929. 1929, Lahore session, Lagdi Lahore diya, as SSR is saying, and we will talk about complete independence. 1906, Dadabhai Naoroji, we talked about self-government Swaraj, and then 1929, as SSR is saying, complete independence. Very good. Later in 1916, Home Rule League movement, he demanded 3 things from British people: Swaraj, linguistic state, and education in vernacular. Very good, Charita. Again, new forms of struggle, Ganapati and Shivaji festival, we have already discussed it. People have also criticized this thing that it led to communalization of masses. Again, you can have your own views on this. Self-reliance, indigenous industries were promoted. We have talked about P.C. Ray, we have seen his stamp, and he set up the famous Bengal chemical factory. This is promotion of Swadeshi. We are setting up our own chemical factory. We will be using our own chemicals. Will not be using British goods, British chemicals. That is also boycott. So Swadeshi and boycott, they are going together, hand in hand. Again, same thing. Bengal National College. This is important. When was it formed? 1906. Was Sri Aurobindo Ghosh its principal? Yes, sir. He was. So these are some facts you have to keep in mind. When was it formed? During the Swadeshi and boycott movement, which was happening in Bengal after the partition of Bengal. Means after the partition of Bengal, which was announced, this partition will be annulled in 1911. Then Charlie Circular. These kind of circular, Cunningham Circular, you will see in civil disobedience movement, which will be issued in Assam, where Britishers will be asking that your students should behave properly. So Cunningham Circular, Charlie Circular, they are not same. Cunningham Circular, you will hear about it in civil disobedience movement. Charlie Circular, you are hearing about it in Swadeshi movement. And that's how UPSC can confuse you. They can give you these circular. Intention are same. They want a promise. Here the Chief Secretary of Bengal government threatening the students to behave. Don't participate in Swadeshi and boycott movement. Then we will talk about Cunningham Circular, which will be issued during civil disobedience movement. There the same thing will be happening. These British agents, they'll be, and the government officials, they'll be asking students not to participate in civil disobedience movement. So you can see the similarity, but the names are different. So they are same but different. Charlie Circular and Cunningham Circular. Charlie Circular, Swadeshi boycott. Cunningham Circular, civil disobedience movement. That's how you will distinguish between these things. Very good. Again, 1906, you can see, although we are saying that we were united, we were doing this Swadeshi and boycott movement, but some people were did get divided. Britishers were successful to a certain extent when we are talking about the success of partition of Bengal. 1 year after, as Charita was saying, All India Muslim League was formed under Nawab Salimullah of Dhaka. 3 years after, 1909, separate electorate was announced for Muslims. So Britishers got what they wanted. They divided us on the line of religion. Communal rights were also happening, as it happens even now when we are divided on the basis of religion. Okay, so again, we have talked about all these things. 1905 Banaras session presided over by Gopal Krishna Gokhale, extremists, and these people, they are fighting on the methods to be adopted during Swadeshi and boycott, whether it should be confined to Bengal or should be extended, whether we should boycott councils or not. All these things will further or finally lead to the split, which will happen in Surat in 1907, Ras Bihari Ghosh. Calcutta session 1900. Again, we are reading the same thing now multiple number of times so that you can remember it. You can have a look at it, and we have discussed all these things, sir and ma'am. Now, what Britishers are doing and why this Surat split happened, there are 3 words which you have to remember. These things were like carrot stick policy we talk about, or you will hear about it. So repression, conciliation, suppression. Repression means they are mildly keeping extremists in check. So they are doing certain things with extremists. They are arresting some of the extremist leaders, but they are not going full throttle here. So this is the first phase, repression. Then they are talking about council reforms, that is legislative council, executive council will do certain things, and they are pacifying the moderates. So moderates are happy now. And then finally they will go full throttle on extremist leaders. They will put them in jail for 6 years and this and that. Some people will, like Aurobindo Ghosh, they will take retirement from politics because they have faced a lot earlier. So all these things. So repression, conciliation and suppression, and that is what is written here. Tilak, and this is the part where you are seeing the suppression. Tilak, the main extremist leader, was sent to Mandalay jail for 6 years. Aurobindo and BC Pal retired from active politics. Lala Lajpat Roy left for abroad. Final suppression happened, and this whole thing, sudden halt in Swadeshi and boycott movement, will lead to something, or will lead to rise of something known as revolutionary extremism, where you will see emergence of sporadic attacks on British governors, Kingsford, and all those things will happen. You will hear about different kind of gymming society getting converted into some radical extremist type of setup. You will hear about Jugantar. You will hear about V.D. Savarkar doing something in Maharashtra. All these things, Abhinav Bharat setup, how it is inspired from Young Italy movement. All these things are happening because Swadeshi and boycott movement came to a sudden halt, because of the policy of Britishers, which was revolving around repression, conciliation and suppression. Aga Khan, as G.P. Goari is saying, he is also one of the founding figures of Muslim League, formed in 1906. Okay, sir. Let's solve some question. PYQ. In the context of Indian freedom struggle, 16th October 1905 is well known for. Chepandis. Charita is saying in 1916 British people defeated Turkey. Turkey was a Muslim majority country. British people destroyed caliphs, mosques, removed Ottoman Empire. Very good yaar. Gymkhana Club, Jugantar, Anushilan Samiti, Abhinav Bharat. So what is the answer of this question? October 1905, in July something happened, then in August something happened, and then in October something happened. So in October, Partition of Bengal took effect. B is the answer, as stated by Vastaram, Kritika and Charita. Assertion and reason. Assertion: Partition of Bengal in 1905 brought to an end the moderates' role in the Indian freedom movement. Reason: the Surat session of Indian National Congress separated the extremists from the moderates. A, both A and R are true, but R is the correct explanation of A. B, both A and R are true, but R is not a correct explanation of A. C, A is true, but R is false. D, A is false, but R is true. So what is the answer of this question? SSR has given the answer. Partition of Bengal brought to an end the moderates' role. End. Extreme word, bro. Moderates finished. We don't hear about any moderates at all after Partition of Bengal. You don't hear about Surendranath Banerjee. All the other leaders, most of the leaders which you think about, like these extremists, they were separated and they will finally be brought into the Congress fold in the Lucknow Pact, which will be happening in 1916. So who are calling the shots in the Congress then? Moderate leaders. So it's not like their role has ended, bro. They are there, but the influence has reduced to a certain extent. So what is the answer? A is false, R is true. This is an extreme part. This is an extreme part of the sentence. End. That means there is no role of moderates anymore in Congress from now onwards. Pay attention, be on the lookout for these extreme words that will help you in eliminating such kind of questions which are actually tricky. Fine. So that's it for today's class. I will share this PDF by tomorrow morning on this Telegram channel, Fun Study with Shub, because study should be fun. And yes, sir, if there are any sibling of yours, or there are some people whom you know who are preparing for 2026, you can tell them to join our March morning batch. Admissions are closing on 31st March 2025. They can use my code SHS Live to get maximum discount. So that's it from me, sir and ma'am. And if you have any queries, you can ask me. Otherwise, Lord Curzon, okay. Otherwise, I will see you people tomorrow. Tikashe? Any queries, any doubts, anything you want to ask me? You can Chepandi. Chepandi means you can tell me, else I'll be Goa gone. Okay, sir. Okay, madam. With you, sir, history is all fun. I'm all about fun, bro. I cannot be boring. I hate to be like, okay. Thank you, Vastram. I just wanted to say thank you. And thank you, Charita. Thank you, everyone. And I will see you people tomorrow.